Welcome to Walkabout the Galaxy, the casual astronomy podcast where the science is universal, the opinions are personal, and the sponsor is right up against the line. We are strange charm atop the Astroquarks, also known as Josh Caldwell,
Addie Dove,
and Jim Cooney,
coming to you from the Walkabout Studios off-site location near the University of Central Florida. Our stumpers today are culinary.
Yes.
Oh. Jim, so for foods, there are certain foods that get people really worked up, and certain flavors and foods. And then there are all these stories about couples, like that there's this Pauli exclusion principle of subatomic quantum properties about flavor tolerance in a couple. Like if you like olives, your wife must hate olives, or
I have an
vice
ongoing
versa.
Survey on my phone about that.
Do you really? And is it?
It's mostly true that couples don't both like olives.
Interesting.
And
definitely, yeah.
It's like 20-person survey that I occasionally remember to fill out.
I can't stand olives, and my wife loves them.
Exactly.
But I know that there's another flavor that people feel quite strongly about, which is an herb by the name of cilantro, which
in the U.S.
rolls off the tongue.
Damn you.
I
call it the devil weed.
I love it. I know you two are not fans
No.
of cilantro. So, Jim, your choice is cilantro or raw beef. I could have said beef tartare.
Yeah, I would rather eat the still beating heart of a cow than ingest even the slightest amount of cilantro. It is disgusting.
Yeah, that's not a hard. We're not vegetarians, Josh. That's not as hard a decision.
That's really hard for me to believe.
Even if I were a vegetarian?
That's really hard for me to believe.
You had a good raw steak?
One leaf of something that even tastes terrible. Like, I'm allergic to peanuts. I would eat one peanut before I would eat the still beating heart of a cow.
But you're a vegetarian.
I would legitimately, I would eat the still billowing intestines of a cow before I ate a bit of cilantro.
Wow, that's too far for me.
It is so disgusting.
It's not, I mean, I can understand not liking the flavor, but it's not disgusting.
It's pretty disgusting.
Genuinely disgusting. Like, it's like...
The problem is also, like, even a tiny little bit of it makes everything taste like that. Yeah. And it's the only thing you can taste.
Like one square
like
millimeter of it in your...
All right. Well, okay, so Jim's coming down with the still undulating, pulsating intestines of any animal over a leaf of the herb cilantro. Addie, your choice is cilantro or actual Dove soap. Addie does.
They taste pretty much the same. I would eat cilantro over Dove soap.
Because it's not actually bad for you. Just tastes disgusting.
Well, I mean, Dove soap probably isn't that bad to eat. It'll moisturize your mouth. I ate something with cilantro in it last night, and so I was actually like going through this debate last night because I love. There's like this noodle dish at the sandwich place I go to. It's like peanut sauce, and you would hate it, but
I would hate it.
Anyway, it's amazing. It's at Pom Pom. It's one of their side dishes, and it always has cilantro in it. And I love everything except that. All I taste is cilantro half the time.
Yeah,
and it's just disappointing.
And they won't make it without cilantro?
It's a pre-made thing.
Yeah,
so no.
Okay. Well, you guys really hate cilantro, but I guess Jim hates it at a level that is, I'm going to say, difficult to believe.
He hates it to a very extreme level.
It's at the point now where I'm tempted to physically restrain him and have a leaf of cilantro and some disgusting thing.
It's possible that it was some hyperbole there. Although I really would genuinely eat, though, like a totally raw steak or raw ground beef before.
Oh, not ground beef. That's dangerous.
You're just a disgusting person.
but if you went to a melting pot or something like that, right? You could eat the little raw steak they bring out.
Yeah. No, raw steak is a thing that people eat.
Also, I know it's a thing. So is cilantro is a thing that. That's why I gave you that choice. For Addie, I thought she hated it more than you did, which is why I gave her a choice of cilantro or something that people don't actually eat. I did have it backwards, but anyway.
There was one time we both ordered pizzas, like at Pizza Kitchen or something, and they both came with cilantro, I think, and I ended up just eating mine, and Jim sent his back. Or maybe I ended up sending mine back because we both did that way, but yeah.
Well, today we will talk about campfires on the sun.
Undulating solar features.
The death of the dinosaurs and the expansion of the universe. per usual. As well as space news, catch up on all space Marsy news. But first, this episode of Walkabout the Galaxy is brought to you by Coming Tonight. This brittle monoclinic crystal, first discovered in Cummington, Massachusetts, is everything you could want in a magnesium iron silicate hydroxide. As a crystal, Coming Tonight exhibits good cleavage and luster. So make a brooch, or bolo tie with this vitreous, partially translucent amphibole. So the next time someone asks you what you're wearing, you can answer, Coming Tonight. Coming Tonight, making geophysics graduate students uncomfortable around their advisors since 1824. Coming Tonight. Does she or doesn't she?
Oh.
Zales.
I think it's like an underwear thing.
You're both kind of, well, no.
No, neither. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah.
I'll know it when you say it.
Clairol.
Oh, okay.
Which is shampoo or makeup.
It's a cleaning product.
A beauty product.
It's a beauty product, yes.
Of some sort. I also thought about Just Do It.
Nike.
Which is maybe more apt, but not challenging.
We'll put up a picture of Coming Tonight.
Yes. I only recently learned about the existence of Coming Tonight.
Why did you learn about it?
I was reading about how uncomfortable it makes people.
Oh, okay.
And I thought sounds
what really
like
makes
perfect
people
for the
uncomfortable?
podcast.
If it had been like out in the rain and you had some moist Coming Tonight. The word moist also makes people really uncomfortable.
Moist and wetness.
Wetness makes people uncomfortable?
Well, it was
The
my
word?
father's least favorite word.
Really?
Yes.
Worse than moist?
Moist,
if he had
I think,
a stumper.
was the second. Second least favorite. He was an English professor.
Yeah.
And he really hated wetness, which showed up a lot in antiperspirant commercials of the 70s.
Wow.
Yes. It's a sort of a fibrous, needly crystal. Mm-hmm. Looks a little bit like asbestos.
Yeah, but prettier.
In some regards. I'm flicking my fingers around like that's helpful, but it's not at all. Space news, NASA announced the return date for Doug and Bob.
Bob and Doug. August.
Second. They're leaving the space station on the 1st, splashing down on the 2nd, something like that.
On one side of Florida.
One or the other?
Yes.
Is it really? It's
either in the Gulf Coast or in the other coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Atlantic, we call it.
Atlantic coast.
Those of us who live in Florida.
Why don't they know?
Weather, I'm guessing.
Weather and other things.
You need to have a backup site.
I would expect it to be like Pacific or Atlantic. But apparently, I think it's Gulf it's either Gulf or Atlantic.
Interesting. Okay, so they'll have recovery ships in both bodies of water.
Probably, yeah.
And they're really good these days at targeting these things.
Yeah.
And we mentioned in a previous episode, perhaps in a trivia, that one of the Gemini, I believe, astronauts manually controlled the reentry of the capsule, either Mercury or Gemini, and ended up with the most precise splashdown location within 4 miles of the the X marks the spot on the ocean. Nice. Better than the automated systems, but now, of course, with GPS and targeting all these things, they can really pinpoint it really well. But it's splashing down because Florida is not a good place to splash land or whatever
to land
only if you're like doing a truly controlled landing like the shuttle did.
Yeah.
But if you're
they could have decided to land it somewhere else. But
you could do it in a big open space.
But SpaceX determined pretty early on that they were just going to go with splashdowns.
Yeah.
There's still talk of them at some point doing land landings, but most
they could if they were doing it like in the desert Southwest or someplace where you've got a large enough margin of error where if you miss, you're not landing on a school.
Well, it's the margin of error, but I think it's also like the velocities they end up hitting with in the ocean versus
could be. Yeah, I was going to say the ground, you have to really be going pretty slowly not to hurt yourself.
I mean, when the Soyuz lands in Kazakhstan, it's faster than you'd want it to be.
The Boeing Starliner is going to be splashing down on dirt.
It's landing.
Well, I know it's landing, but landing makes it sound like you've got legs.
What do you call it when the blue capsule lands?
I don't know what I call it.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard because...
Parachuting down?
Well, when you say landing, I think of like the lunar module or the space shuttle.
What happens
or legs.
when you jump in the air?
When I jump in the air, I've got legs, and it's very controlled. It's a very controlled.
Okay.
It's not me like plopping down on my butt somewhere.
Yeah,
randomly.
so they have to do one more spacewalk to do just finish up the battery repairs that they've been doing.
Man, they've been doing a lot of battery repairs.
It's been 3.5 years in the making, and they're finally finishing it.
Yeah.
And then they will eventually come back.
Wouldn't it be funny if that's what Tom Cruise's space station movie is?
Just
it's just
batteries.
Like replacing batteries,
Yes.
right?
mission battery replacement.
Yes.
Yes. Dun 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 dun.
And he's got to like fly out.
Most of our space news, though, has to do with now entering. We're now actually in the biannual Mars launch window of 2020.
Yeah, one more date was announced though. JWST
Oh, that's
is
true.
supposed to launch. The James Webb Space Telescope is supposed to launch on
August
October
something.
31st,
October.
2021.
I'll believe
Ooh.
that when I see it.
Top and bottom can have a JWST costume. You did a Lego costume. Although JWST is harder to do as a 2-person costume.
Yes.
One person could be the like solar array thing, and then one person could be
The sun shield.
sun shield. That's it.
Yeah. So, yes, this much delayed telescope.
Pushed back due to COVID this time
Yeah.
and other reasons.
Yeah.
But it's exciting because there's a date. It's not just a year.
Well, there was a date. There was a March 2021 date pre-COVID.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and now we're in the beginning. We're recording this on July 17th, and it's sort of the opening weekend of a roughly month-long window of
Mars.
opportunities for missions to launch to Mars.
I look
So-
forward to the day when this opening weekend there will really be like
Ooh.
dozens of craft going because people are
Moving to
vacationing
Mars.
or moving to Mars and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet in our lifetimes, I'm going to go with Addie and I's lifetime because we're young, this will happen.
Wow.
Just kidding. You're barely older. Barely.
That's a bold bet.
That is a
Is it?
bold bet.
It is a
Yeah.
vote?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it.
You're saying you're betting that in our lifetimes not only will see people going to Mars, but it'll be a
It'll
regular,
be a
sort
regular
of
thing.
common
It'll
occurrence.
be a regular-ish thing. I mean, still for the fairly rich, but regular-ish.
For the fairly rich.
Or
the fairly
crazy.
rich.
Right now, we're still waiting for it to be a regular thing for the fairly rich to be able to take a 3-minute ride
Suborbital
into
flight?
suborbital space.
Yeah. I know, but the way
Exponential
technology
curves and all.
works is it's like an exponential growth thing.
Wait a minute,
so-
let me take some notes here. The way technology, works. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Jim.
Yeah, right?
That's
Isn't
awesome.
it?
It's definitely
Anyway, I have to
coming.
believe that because the world so often is bad things that this
This is the good thing.
this is
you're
the good
pinning
things.
your-
This podcast
pinning your
and
hopes
thinking
on.
about space and stuff.
This
yeah.
podcast
2020
and
is the
colonization of
start-
Mars.
Yeah, 2020 is the start of our expansion in the solar system.
Okay. Well, July 30th is the date currently for the NASA Perseverance rover, also called Mars 2020 rover.
Percy.
July 23rd, China will be launching, or that's their target date, rumored to be their target date for their mission Tianwen-1, which is a rover and an instrumented lander
Yeah.
and an orbiter,
Whoa.
all in one swell foop. The United Emirates Hope mission to Mars is launching from Japan. It was supposed to have launched today, I believe, but it's
yeah.
been pushed due to poor weather at the launch site. They're now looking at next week. And guess who made the rocket that mission's going on?
SpaceX?
No,
Russia.
Mitsubishi,
Oh, that's
What?
right.
which I just find
I
hilarious.
didn't know they made rockets.
I know. The NASA rover's going up on a Chevy. So that's our space
think it's
news.
I mean, I think some of the NASA rovers might be Toyotas.
The rovers themselves.
Yeah, they've NASA recently announced a partnership with JAXA to potentially do one of the next rovers.
I thought those were the lunar rovers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lunar
Sorry,
rovers
I
for
switched.
astronauts.
Yes.
So will be Japanese car makers participating.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's start at home and head out towards the deepest reaches of the cosmos, and that means starting with dinosaurs.
Ooh.
I love dinosaurs. I should have worn a dinosaur mask today. Let's see. So there's some debate. That's been sort of more recent debate about sort of the demise of the dinosaurs. Womp womp. So definitely we know...
Debate meaning they're still around? The Loch Ness Monster is actually a dinosaur?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That is what I meant. No,
Okay.
That's not what I meant, unfortunately. About how they died, right?
Oh.
So what the cause was. And it's because there's a lot of different things, turns out, that happened in the world right around the time that the dinosaurs went extinct. One of those mass extinctions. And for a long time, and obviously we like the hypothesis that it was an asteroid impact.
Love it.
Which we have the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan Peninsula, and then evidence all around the world of like global climate change and things like that due to the asteroid impact. So for a while, that was sort of the accepted theory, although at first everybody was like, poo-poo.
When that was first
Poo-poo.
proposed, as Jim mentioned, I'm a little bit older than you two. When that was first proposed, that was the radical idea as to what happened.
What was the current standing idea then?
I believe it was other thing that you're going to talk about.
Okay.
It was known that there had been catastrophic climate change, but a triggering event of an impact wasn't known until there's this discovery of the Iridium in a road outcropping in Gubbio, Italy.
Yeah.
And in the early 90s, I was fortunate enough to go to a conference there and get a tour of the original outcropping where the Iridium
That's cool.
was first discovered by Walter Alvarez, one of the co-authors of that paper and the son of the lead author. So that was funny. It was a sort of it was a cool kind of pilgrimage.
Did you enjoy that or your visit to CERN more?
I definitely enjoyed that more than my visit to CERN. Because you
actually got to do something?
It was much less crowded. Yes.
But and you can look, there's iridium layers all around the world that we've found. But so the other idea is this idea of the Deccan traps. The Deccan traps of the volcanoes that sort of went off sometime around the same time.
Over a sort of extended period of time.
Yeah, so that was spewing all of this stuff into the atmosphere, and potentially that's why the dinosaurs went away. Because all of these things cause the atmosphere to change. They cause a lot more cloud cover when you have a lot of little particles in the atmosphere. There's dust in the atmosphere, and clouds seed on dust. La 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 la. You get a lot more cloud coverage. Everything's cold.
Cold.
Dinosaurs.
Plants die.
Dinosaurs.
Things that eat the plants die.
Tend to like plants and also tend to like warmer-ish weather. So they didn't love the situation.
Yeah.
But so there's the sort of the Deccan hypothesis has been more popular again recently because of some modeling about how much it would have globally distributed. But there's this new again like a climate model that looked at both like geologic evidence and how the data for the sort of the habitats overall would have changed. So it's looking at like what plants would have died and when they would have died, and it indicates that it probably was an impact. Yay!
Astronomy wins.
Astronomy wins.
Astronomy 1, geophysics 0.
That's
yeah,
right.
and they actually think that the
For
Deccan
doom
traps.
and destruction.
Yeah, right. I mean, we explain almost everything these days with impacts, but it wasn't always that way.
That's right.
But these days, that's what we like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, of course, the dinosaurs going extinct wasn't the only big mass extinction event in Earth's history, of course. And almost all mass extinction events have something to, or maybe all, have something to do with very rapid climate change. But what causes that climate change is different. So this most recent big, I say most recent, other than the one that's ongoing right now, most recent mass extinction looks like...
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about the fact that the asteroid hit.
Sure.
Yes.
And we have very strong evidence about how energetic that was, and we have very good models about what that would do, and that is devastating.
Yeah.
What it would do. And of course, volcanoes can also be devastating, and in Earth's more exuberant, energetic geologic youth, there were episodes of crazy sort of global scale volcanic activity that can contribute to climate change. Even Mount Pinatubo, whenever that erupted, I'm embarrassed now that I don't remember the exact year, but it's within the last century.
True.
I want to say.
I don't think not in my lifetime.
You can see it. There's in our modern temperature records, there's a noticeable dip in the global temperature as a result of this one large volcanic eruption.
So can we just make some volcanoes explode? Will that fix climate change?
To cool things off a bit?
Yeah.
Well, for climate change mitigation, one of the strategies that is discussed is seeding the upper atmosphere with particulates to aerosols or little particles are tricky because whether they cool the planet or heat the planet depends very much on what altitude in the atmosphere they're at.
Yeah, and what they're made out of too.
And what they're made out of.
Yeah, there's actually people doing research on what are the best particles to start seeding clouds and in what particle sizes and things like that. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. It's a little weird to think about that kind of terraforming on Earth, but anyway, this model also interestingly shows that the Deccan traps maybe actually sort of helped the negative effects, so they caused a little bit more warming
because of all the carbon dioxide and stuff that they were spewing.
I think So I think it was that. So it's just producing more outgassing, and then the carbon dioxide would have changed.
A couple of times in the Earth's history, the planet has been in a snowball Earth period where it was very cold and all the water was frozen. And how do you get out of that is through volcanic activity, popping from beneath through that ice and dumping huge amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And increasing the greenhouse effect, which warms it up, melts the ice, and away you go. So, it could be...
and they show that, because this was sort of this longer-term thing, and it went on after probably the impact happened, that maybe it added warming gases, and it helped sort of make it less bad than it could have been.
Thank you, Deccan Traps.
Yeah.
On behalf of the squirrels, our ancestors,
who
survived that, because a lot of stuff died.
Yeah, wasn't it something like 75% of the species?
I think it's more than that,
Way more than that, dude.
No, I don't think it's close to 75.
I think for that one, it was about 75% of the species.
So this article said 75% of the plant species, but I think in terms of the
for
invertebrates or the vertebrates, there were a lot higher. It was a higher percentage.
I think it was a lot higher than that.
I'll buy it.
Well, we'll
appreciate it.
Maybe we'll post a cute Instagram poll about it or something.
That's the thing people do.
Speaking about guessing, our trivia for today is acronymal. We have mentioned lots of NASA missions and instruments and telescopes and things like that, which have these funny names, and we're guilty sometimes of not explaining what those names mean, and frequently they're acronyms.
We need an index of acronyms in all of our...
So I'm going to read you a list of words or acronyms. And which of the following are not NASA acronyms?
So we're going to, when we answer at the end, we're going to go true, false, true, false, true, false kind of thing.
You're going to say real or not.
Okay.
Yep. So, and I know that Addie knows some of these.
Sorry, Jim.
Well,
too bad.
You probably do too.
No. Hey.
Jim, I know, knows none of them.
Ouch. He's salty.
Was for the
He's salty about the age comment. Yeah. He's salty.
Anyway, here's your list of acronyms.
They're probably on stamps, Josh. Jim probably knows them.
They could be, which may or may not be real NASA acronyms.
Okay.
Here we go. Picasso. Dream. Actually, I'm going to read you what they stand for. Okay?
Okay.
Picasso, planetary instrument concepts for the advancements of solar system observations.
Let's just do it without reading what they stand for first.
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead.
He took the time to come up with this. We should let him read it.
That's right.
Sorry.
I know.
I'll listen.
That's why I want to do it, to show off my creative.
I know. I'm impressed.
All right.
I'm impressed.
All right.
Side. Dream, Dayside reconnection event airglow monitor. Matisse, maturation of instruments for solar system exploration. DALI, or DALI, development and advancement of lunar instrumentation. CREAM, we had Dream, CREAM, cosmic ray energetics and mass. Monet, Mars, oxygen, nitrogen, exosphere, and temperature. And finally, one that's real, but I'm just going to tell you that it's real.
I'm going to get that one. You said I wouldn't know any.
Because I couldn't find what it stands for, but it's just hilarious that this existed. And this is before your time. It's called Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
Spelled SYS-EYFUS. So it was a very contrived acronym, and it stood for System.
Stood for?
First, it stood for, because it was deleted in 2003 or 4, something like that. System for something.
Okay.
But what it was the system where you submitted electronically your proposals to NASA when they first had electronic proposal submission, and they named it Sisyphus.
That's so mean.
Exactly, which is why it only lasted about 2 years. And for those who are not familiar with their Greek mythology, who was Sisyphus?
Now it's called Inspires.
Now, they changed that.
NSPR, but now it's called Inspires.
That's right. So they went from Sisyphus after great outcry to calling it Inspires.
Sisyphus had to roll the rock up the hill, but it always rolled back down. You had to roll it up again.
It was and that's what proposal writing feels like.
Endless task of failure.
Push that giant boulder up the hill. Only to be doomed to have it roll back down and have to start over the next day. And
whichever program officer came up with that, I'm glad it's gone now.
Yeah, somebody at NASA headquarters thought that was a hilarious thing. Okay, we'll come back to that later. There's a cool result from the European solar probe called the Solar Orbiter. And this probe was launched in February. Yeah. So it hasn't been up very long.
We'll point out which podcast we talked about that launch on.
Yes. One of the ones in February, probably.
Yeah.
And Solar Orbiter orbits the sun.
What?
Its orbit is going to be sort of more polar, so it'll be going having good views of the north and south poles of the sun, whereas the NASA Parker Solar Probe is staying more in the plane of the planets as it's orbiting. But there are some amazing and adorable movies and pictures of the solar photosphere.
So I think this thing got the closest that anything has ever gotten, right, to the surface of the sun.
Well, I was surprised how far it is.
That's what all of the articles said.
But
it can't be true because it's half an AU away. And we've had spacecraft as close as Mercury, which is closer than half an AU from the sun. Now, they weren't looking at the sun.
Right.
But so maybe it's the closest
solar observatory
of the sun has been taken from, but it's not the closest that anything has been to the sun.
Maybe it's that it's the most zoomed in picture.
Yeah.
And all of the headlines didn't quite get that right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so the Messenger, another acronym, spacecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Orbited Mercury, which took it closer to the sun than this, but it never took a picture from the sun. It was always hiding from the sun.
Right.
The sun is
right. You have to have specialized instruments to be taking pictures of the sun.
Most of the time you don't want to take a picture of the sun.
Right.
Yeah. Even from here on the Earth, it's hard to take a picture of the sun.
Yeah.
But these pictures show we're familiar with sunspots, and if you see nice pictures of the sun, it has this sort of honeycomb appearance. Mm-hmm. And that honeycomb are these
bubbling caramel, you mean?
Sorry?
Bubbling caramel.
Bubbling caramel, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's just like bubbling caramel, it's convection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's heat from below that's causing the hot gases of the sun to expand and rise and dump their heat and then sink, and the sinking gas is a little bit cooler, so it's darker. So you get these convection cells that has this sort of bubbling caramel honeycomb appearance. And then at times when the magnetic field in the sun inhibits that, you don't bring heat up from the surface and it's darker, so you get sunspots at those locations. But what these new things are showing, and they've nicknamed them campfires, and they're just so cute, is they look like campfires. They are about the size of the continental United States, or maybe
it's pretty
North
small
American
for
continent.
The sun.
But they kind of look like campfires. So
the campfire that is the U.S. right now.
Little tiny bright chimneys of very bright hot plasma coming up from the junctures of some of this honeycomb.
The first couple of pictures I looked at where there's like an arrow pointing to it, I'm like, is that just like a bad pixel or something, a hot pixel or something? Like, come on.
I didn't look. It wasn't impressive at first, but when you watch the movies, they're really
video. Just in a picture, it doesn't. In a picture, it's going to look like bad pixels. But the videos, they look like campfires. They look like little
Little sparky campfires.
sort of erupting campfires. And then helpfully they provide the size of the Earth to scale, and you're like, holy crap, that thing is the size of the Americas, or something. They're almost as big as the planet. But one of the things that we hope to learn from all these missions to the sun is how you get from that sort of relatively cool 6,000 Kelvin photosphere of the sun to the
chilly
millions of degrees corona above it, which
can we
goes
rename
the opposite
it?
way that heat usually likes to go,
Yes.
from hot to cold, and this is going from cold to hot. And so turbulence from this thing may be driving it. So
and when we talk about the sun, it is hot in the center of the sun, and then
Right.
if you're talking about most of the sun, it gets cooler as you go out. But then there's this super weird effect where these really thin filamentary regions that most of the time we can't see, that's called the corona, are super hot. And it's because they're highly energetic, but we don't really understand where they get that energy from. And so these are little nanoflares, they're calling them, and it's possibly causing part of this energy to go up into the sun.
Maybe part of that energy.
That's bold to use the word nano when you're talking about something that's
the size
continents
of
the
the planet.
size.
Yeah, right? I thought that was pretty funny.
It's all relative.
Yeah. That's no big CME. It's just a little nano flare.
Yeah. So it's cool. And this is just the first of 22 orbits planned for the European Solar Orbiter mission.
That's so few.
And it's going to be getting closer, and it's going to be ramping up over the poles. And so we may see different things going on there, because the sun spins in roughly a month or so, right? 27 days at the equator. But because it's not solid, the poles are not spinning as quickly. It's sort of a stretchy kind of thing. So it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
That's kind of terra incognita.
Yeah.
Right.
Up there.
We haven't seen much up there. There's also, in one of the
up
articles
close.
we saw, there was a cool shot of some of the zodiacal light, which I enjoy seeing images of.
Oh, yeah.
Because I learned about them when I was studying moon stuff at first.
Zodiacal
but
Light was our sponsor recently.
It was, yeah. So there's some sweet new pics of zodiacal light out there.
Nice.
And they had to so the zodiacal light is much, much dimmer. So they had to they had to change their imaging and stretch the images then, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Speaking of dim things, before we talk about the fate of the universe, so Jim can depress us all, I actually managed to see Comet Neo-wise.
Nice. With your eyes.
With my eyes, aided by binoculars. And I was not sufficiently tempted to try to make it out with the naked eye. What's the point?
Yeah. As we talk on... Wait, what is the date again? It's July...
17th.
Today is the 17th, and
17th.
after we finish recording...
Yeah, we're going to go out and try and see it again.
The Astroquarks will have a comet.
There's
It's
been
now
a
become an
huge
evening-
anvil cloud forming back behind you.
Yeah, we're probably not going to be able to see it because we have to look to the west or northwest.
Yes.
And there happens to be
We'll see.
Clouds.
a lot of storms, but we'll check it out. Yeah, we were able to see it. You saw it, and
Someday I'll
we
see
saw it
it.
last night.
It's there.
Or
You haven't
not.
seen it yet?
It's there.
I haven't. I mean, I've seen lots of pictures of it.
Unfortunately, by the time that this is...
I also haven't seen Hamilton, so.
Everybody's...
Well, yes.
Anyway, by the time
You won't
we
need to
see
see
I was gonna say, by the
Hamilton
time
because
this-
we're producing our own music video
Yeah.
coming
Oh, yeah,
soon to everywhere.
Hype.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. But yeah, by the time this is posted... So, I mean, every day the comet gets a little further away from the sun, which means that's better for viewing it because you don't have to... It's not as close to the sun, so the sky is darker around the comet, but also it's going to be getting dimmer as it moves away from the sun and becomes less active. So
Yep.
see it as soon as you can.
Right.
All right.
All right.
Now,
Tell
after
us
that inspiration,
How about that universe?
how about that
Tell
universe?
us about the death of the universe, Jim.
No, not the death.
Just the expansion.
We've talked a few times on the podcast before about this kind of
few.
friction in various measurements of how fast the universe is expanding. Right, the Hubble parameter, or the Hubble constant, is this number that tells us how quickly things are moving away from each other. And the Planck telescope, all of our measurements of the cosmic microwave background, give us a kind of one way to measure what the Hubble constant is, and directly measuring it by actually going out and looking at the galaxies and seeing how fast they're moving away from us gives us a different number. And we had, a quick review of what we had been through. I mean, we had
Everybody went back and checked their calculations.
Yeah. Well, and for a while, it wasn't that big a deal that they were different. These numbers are like
using miles and not kilometers and everything like that.
We checked all that. Yeah.
Oops, megaparsecs. Darn it.
But in scientific things, there's always uncertainties. There's error bars associated with this, and so early on, there were different numbers, but it wasn't so different that they were necessarily
We're being
different.
invaded by dinosaurs.
Yes, sandhill cranes are
Sandhill
here.
cranes to me sound like the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park.
They do, and they're probably
spitting ones
closely related to them.
Yeah.
See, the dinosaurs haven't died.
They haven't.
They're right there.
They survived almost.
Anyway.
But yeah, there was this. There's this differences in these measurements, but their error bars overlap, so it was okay. And we expected, as the measurements got better and we got better techniques, that the measurements would come into.
They're just still going.
Would come into alignment, but in fact, the problem has gotten worse.
Our error bars are getting smaller.
Error bars are getting smaller, and they're still nowhere near each other. These numbers are not.
Far apart.
Now they're so far apart that they can't.
Their error bars don't overlap.
So there are three possibilities, right? One is that we're doing something wrong with the cosmic microwave background measurements. The Planck satellite has something wrong with it, or there's some measurement technique that we're not doing right there. Okay. Two, that our local measurements of the Hubble constant are wrong because of, for example, we're not measuring the distances to galaxies correctly. Something is wrong in our distance ladder. Mm-hmm. Or three, there's new physics. There's something new and exciting going on that we don't understand about the universe. It's got to be one of those three things.
Yeah.
And so recently, to test possibility number one there, to see if the Planck satellite and the cosmic microwave background measurements are right, we went at it a similar but different way by using Earth-based telescopes, specifically the Atacama Cosmology Telescope, which I find to be pretty awesome for two reasons. One,
ACT.
What?
Yep, ACT is the
ACT.
acronym.
Yeah, ACT.
ACT now.
It's awesome because where's the Atacama?
In the Chilean desert.
Yeah, the Atacama Desert is the driest place on planet Earth, right? It gets some ludicrously
is it drier
small.
than
Antarctica?
Antarctic dry
yes,
valleys?
Drier than Antarctica. It's like the driest place on Earth.
Wow.
Okay.
Which makes it pretty darn inhospitable. You have to get water in from anyway, but it's also up at 17,000 feet.
Yeah,
which also makes it inhospitable.
Which contributes to the fact that it's one of the driest places.
It's really high altitudes anyway. But the location of this, I mean, it's very dry, and very high altitude, which makes the conditions for viewing things in microwaves very, very good.
Yeah.
You need very dry things because, of course, water likes to absorb microwaves.
There's not a lot of people with microwaves around there.
Right. And it's actually not that far from the equator. So it's in the tropics, barely in the tropics, which means that as the Earth rotates around, you can see a pretty good fraction of the sky. Not the entire sky, because it's in the southern, but most of the sky. And so you can almost reproduce the kind of thing that Planck did. And so we've done that and made like measurements of the temperature of the cosmic microwave background.
Being the spacecraft that observed the cosmic microwave background, which is the light left over from the Big Bang.
Exactly.
The glow permeating the universe. From
we've done that a number of times with a number of different satellites. Planck was the most recent and best with the best
highest
resolution and all this kind of stuff. And it gave us this really well-defined value of the Hubble constant of around 67 in some units that we won't even worry about.
Right.
This ACT turns out gave us the
don't
same
call it that.
number.
Call it ACT. Don't call it ACT.
ACT.
That makes me
because that's like a
standardized testing.
Standardized test.
Oh yeah.
Only people out west, weird people took that.
That's right.
The Midwest.
Sorry, you took that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did really well on it too. So.
Yeah.
Freak.
What's wrong with you?
I took it in 7th grade and in high school. So what?
Weird.
Yeah. I'm weird.
But yeah, the ACT found almost precisely the same number as Planck did. So that
that's nice.
That probably rules out that being the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you're down to
either
something local. The local determination has got some systematic underlying flaw in it, which
it's probably not likely because we've used a number of different distance measurement things to come up with very similar numbers
consistent with each other.
So now that leaves only the third awesomest possibility, right?
Which is the universe is more complicated than we think.
Right. There's something else going on. I mean, we it's fun because we thought we had a pretty good. The universe is roughly this much dark matter and this much dark energy and this much regular matter, but there must be something weird happening, like dark energy is changing over time, or so some funky thing is happening. So that's kind of awesome. So that means that I'll have a job for a while longer.
Well, since we don't know what those things are to begin with, it's maybe not too surprising to say that they're more complicated than our simplest possible
Right.
imagination of
Right.
what they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would, our simplest version of dark energy is it's a number,
Right. It's
right? In some sense, and so just changing it from a number to a function
right.
is
Yeah.
sufficient to potentially address this kind of issue.
Yes, it is. But there were pretty good reasons why we thought it might be just that number. I mean, it was
Right.
well motivated. So it's just interesting. It's going to mean now we got a lot of work to do to figure out what's really going on here. Pretty fun.
Yay.
Yeah, this weekend I have yard work, so I won't be able to start
maybe.
working
Yeah.
on it
Yeah, I gotta
until
put
Next
it in a
weekend or something. Yeah,
microwave,
it's cool.
so-
next week.
Yeah, we'll
so
get together.
I have to put it in a microwave. I won't be
Lot of
able to look
work.
at microwave data. so.
Right.
I will add it to my list, though.
Okay.
Figure out the new hidden physics of the universe.
I mean, that's always on the list, though. But
Yeah.
it keeps
It is
getting
on the
pushed down
list.
to
If
the
you
bottom.
if you listeners have any good ideas, just let us know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Are
right.
you ready to take your crack at the?
I feel like I'm cheating on this one. I'm
I knew that.
going to do pretty well.
It's okay.
I knew
I'm
there
going to
are
do
some-
terribly, and it's okay.
There are some that
I
you
can
know,
take
so
my
we're going to
licks.
start with Jim.
Okay.
I can take my licks.
Well, we'll just do,
We'll do
each one.
first
And
one. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with Picasso. Planetary instrument concepts for the advancements of solar system observations, real or bogus?
I think that's real.
Addie,
It's real.
it is real, and we've even had proposals submitted to that.
We have.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard that name going around in
Yeah.
you
Probably
guys'
because we've
circles.
been
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Let's got to
So-
submit our Picasso proposal.
You're
Yeah.
like, okay.
Okay, next is Dream, Dayside Reconnection Event, Airglow Monitor.
I love it. It sounds plausible. If you made this up, it's good. I'm going to say real.
I think it's real.
I made it up.
Okay.
I made it up.
Well, so there's a
I came
survey
up
team.
with a really good
That was-
acronym.
that's
Well,
props.
so there is a
I-
survey team called Dream.
Uh-huh.
And it's dynamic response of the Earth and
Something,
probably Moon.
something.
I don't remember.
And Moon, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really happy with Reconnection Event.
That
Airglow
got
Monitor.
that got
Can
me.
I
That
name?
sounded very scientific.
Can I work
That
on
was
one of my
good.
next CubeSats to be called that? Great.
Sure.
Thanks.
Matisse, Maturation of Instruments for Solar System Exploration. So another in the painter theme.
That's fake.
It is real.
It is real.
Oh, maturation.
Yeah.
Yes, they came up with Picasso first, and then they're like, "Hey, let's run with this whole painter
Yeah.
Okay.
Matisse.
theme." Right?
Okay.
Yeah. And like Matisse is Matisse is after Picasso. So you
Yeah.
propose a Picasso, and then,
if
it's
you
a
get
certain
through
level
that-
of advancement, and then you could propose to Matisse to do like the next level. Of
Yeah.
So maturation means you
You're
take your
maturing the
proposal. You're
concept.
maturing your
You're building
proposal.
an instrument
Okay.
for eventual flight to
I was
Mars or
imagining
something.
maturing. The instrument was maturing, and you were finding new uses for it because it was getting old.
You
or something
mature the
like that.
technology.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
So when you do instrument type things, it's called the technology readiness level, and there's like 9 levels, and you're maturing the technology as it goes.
Okay.
So your
there's
first
certain-
thing is a sketch on a napkin, and then your next thing is like, I made a plastic model of it, and then your next thing is I made some circuits that actually do something, and then ultimately it's like I
then
tested
you
it
stick
in a
in
vacuum
space.
chamber and it can go to space.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
maturation. DALI, Development and Advancement of Lunar Instrumentation.
So clearly, Addie will know. Oh, this is no fake because the other two are real.
It's real.
Dang it!
Also real.
I'm only like 1 for 4.
We in fact just put in a Dali proposal.
Good job.
Cream, Cosmic Ray Energetics and Mass.
This one I feel like I should know,
Yeah, if any of them.
if any of them, but I've not heard of it, so I'm saying fake.
She's trying to read my expression.
Yeah. No, this is more psychology than anything because we already had
It
dream.
is real.
Okay.
Yeah. Monet, Mars, oxygen, nitrogen, exosphere, and temperature.
Fake.
Fake.
It is fake.
Okay.
I was like, I had to come up with another painter one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured one of the painter ones had to be fake.
I figured that could be an like an actual instrument that I just wasn't sure of, but
So I got you on one of my made-up ones, and then one of the real ones sounds terrible. So it was,
I thought I had heard of
that's
that one, but then I was
But
like, no.
if you look at the list, if you like Google NASA acronyms,
Yeah.
the thing that drives me insane is that 90% of the things that are on the list are not acronyms. They're abbreviations,
Oh, yeah.
like JPL.
Yeah, we just call all of those acronyms, though.
They're not acronyms. An acronym is something that is pronounced as a word.
Right.
Yeah.
So NASA's an acronym. JPL
I mean,
is not.
Jipple.
Huh?
Jipple.
If you said JPL, if we called it JPL,
So what is Jilla?
Gilla used to be an acronym.
It used to be an acronym, and now
But
it's
now
just a name.
just some
What's
word.
Gilla?
It's just some made up
It
weird name.
It was like the Joint Institute for Laboratory Astrophysics
Yep.
at Colorado. There's like the Gilla Tower because there
Yeah.
were all the people in the tower. But and apparently at some point there was not really laboratory astrophysics anymore.
I don't know.
But they just kept the name Gilla.
Yeah, they just said we're still Gilla, but it doesn't stand for anything.
We don't stand for anything.
Well, while it may have felt like a really uncomfortable conversation with your ex, it was just another episode of Walkabout the Galaxy. If you liked this episode of Walkabout the Galaxy, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Please.
Relax. Look closely at the pendulum. You're very comfortable. You feel warm. You are thinking, when I hear Addie say 5 stars, I'm going to give Walkabout the Galaxy 5 stars. 5 stars.
5 stars.
Be sure to like us on Facebook to get all our updates and check out our website at walkaboutthegalaxy.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Walkabout the Galaxy. Catch up on old episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter.
At walk _ galaxy.
And ask us questions anywhere using hashtag WalkaboutTheGalaxy. Our theme music was composed by Richard Jerusik. Production assistance is provided by Diego Rodriguez. Sound effects are provided by Emergency Vehicles and Sandhill Cranes.
And COVID.
Jillian Gloria is Director of Marketing. Thanks to our listeners in Rhineland, Germany, and around the world. Stay safe. I'm Josh Caldwell.
I'm Addie Dove.
And I'm Jim Cooney.
We're the Astroquarks, signing off until the next episode of Walkabout the Galaxy.
5 stars.